of this information. It gets a little philosophical about the divisions between the Green Party and the other money parties, I should say. And I'll be happy to provide this information to you if you want to use it for some of your speeches and campaigning. And this is really the second nominating convention. The first one was, in fact, in 2008 at the Otis Library. But to reiterate what Rana said, hopefully this will be a tradition where we can really get the public involved here as well as Greens. And I have to use these a little bit like George Washington addressing the troops in 1783. Refusing to accept dark money or campaign donations from PACs or super PACs, and not taking corporate doles bribing Democrats or Republicans, against whom I ran in 2008 and 2010. The history of the Green Party in the 2nd District can be summed up with really 4 adjectives: independent, progressive, pro-democracy, and most importantly, correct. So we're going to get maybe some interfacing here, and you're welcome to respond when I ask a question. From the very beginning, we Greens have said no to the oil wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, U.S. forays into Pakistan and Yemen, and now a looming war in Iran. We proposed elimination of military foreign aid and proposed reducing baseline military spending by at least 40 to 50%, eliminating hundreds of our 1,000 or more military bases in some 160 countries, costing over $800 billion a year, and breaking both the U.S. Treasury and taxpayers' backs. Were we right? Yes, we were. We recommended diversification of electric boat in the subways to stop the hemorrhaging of 30,000 jobs since the Cold War's 1970s, shifting facilities more and more into sustainable green jobs, manufacturing alternative energy technologies, and mass transit before the inevitable BRAC closure. Gradually, those facilities could enter the competitive marketplace, relieving 2nd District taxpayers of corporate socialism and the military-industrial complex which holds the regional workplace hostage. Guarantees of federal dollars or no jobs. Were we right? Yes, we were. We fought for decades for single-payer health care, Medicare for everyone, to make health care efficient, affordable, and accessible to all. With Obamacare's private insurance companies gatekeeping health care for profit, millions of Americans will still be without health care. Administrative costs will still be permitted as high as 20%. Never mind the 1,200 databases and redundancies, the escalating co-pays and deductibles, actuarial coverage declining. There are only 3 ways to make a profit in the healthcare business. Either you reduce value, or you increase the price, or you do both. Opponents who harp about running government like a business are flat-out fools. It's high time we ran American government like a democracy. That's what the Green Party is all about. Were we right? Yes, we were. We Greens have fought for labor rights and living wages long after Democrats abandoned labor in the 1970s. We've issued plans to create thousands of jobs with a Green Conservation Corps, providing affordable labor to repair our infrastructure, build a smart grid, improve our parks, job train and assist with tuition costs, enabling unemployed to transition into new jobs. Perhaps, above all, the program could provide labor to install affordable domestic alternative energy, smart meters and battery storage, small wind turbines, solar panels for the kind of feed-in tariff that they have in Germany, where people sell their energy production back to the grid at 54 cents per kilowatt hour, a program which has produced 450,000 jobs in just the last 4 years. Were we right? Yes, we were. And what have Democrats and Republicans provided instead? A deaf ear to the loss of private sector wages and benefits, indifference to a public sector under attack, one side of labor instigated to leave its mark of Cain on the other. 5 years ago, we proposed a 0.5% sales tax on Wall Street transactions. I stole that from Ralph Nader. It's a great idea. Similar to transaction taxes imposed in Europe and earlier in U.S. history as well. Investment houses and hedge funds do most of the trading on Wall Street. People who make money off money, where investors and derivatives traders make huge profits by gambling depositors' money and produce nothing of utility for the common good. It used to be strikes and unions could wrest some concessions from the economically powerful, but you can't strike against hedge funds and investment houses. And unions are an endangered species now, thanks to Democrats and Republicans both. You know, in 1937, the height of the Great Depression, when people were terrified of losing their jobs, 4,742 strikes lasted 10 days or more. In 2007, just 21. The transaction tax could fund infrastructure repairs and help stabilize Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Were we right? Yes, we were. The Greens have advocated for commensurate capital gains taxes. And seeing the similarities to 1929 back in 2007 or so, long before the Wall Street collapse in 2008, we warned against the impending bubble burst. Today I say again, another economic disaster is inevitable if we don't bring back Glass-Steagall. Just 34 pages of effective regulation that worked until Democrats and Republicans repealed it in the 1990s during the Clinton administration. Dodd-Frank and the VOCA rule are 1,600 pages or more of loopholes and ineffectiveness. Only the Green Party has fought to break up the 6 big banks, too big to fail, banks which have grown another 20 to 30% since Obama's come into office. And we Greens opposed corporate welfare and the bailouts of Wall Street institutions responsible for ransacking the economy. We proposed a moratorium on foreclosures, and Greens want to invest in small community and state banks which invest in small businesses. Were we right? Yes, we were. Greens have fought to alleviate global warming by offering a national energy policy, complete with smart grid, which produces green energy jobs, stimulates local economies and agriculture, and meaningfully regulates greenhouse gas emissions. We fought to forgive student debt and for tuition-free education. We fought to end congressional subsidies to industries and corporations harmful to the ecology and human health, such as big oil and coal, factory farm agribusiness, the meat and fast food industries and makers of genetically modified foods. Were we right? Yes, we were. The Green Party has consistently fought for term limits, publicly financed elections, instant runoff balloting, proportional representation, equitable access for all candidates to media and voters, so no candidate can skirt issues, buy elections, and peddle influence by merely dumbing down elections, suspending reason, and exploiting America's zombie-like addiction to advertising. Only Greens are working to move to amend the Constitution, not only to overturn Citizens United alone, but to eliminate the notion that corporations should be granted the same rights as citizens and corporate personhood. For decades, we've demanded repeals of the Patriot Act to restore rights and freedoms afforded us under the Constitution, the Homeland Battlefield Bill, signed by President Obama in December 2011 to criminalize peaceful dissent, and various other assaults on our civil liberties by Democrat and Republican regimes. Were we right? Yes, we were. So why haven't voters flocked to our cause in greater numbers? The Green Party positions provide common ground solutions to our nation's many problems and planetary crises. But not one of these solutions, not one, key components of Green Party platforms for multiple election cycles, has ever been fought for or accomplished by either Democrats or Republicans, not a single one. The voters know this, so why must Greens strain to be heard in America today? If voters realized in greater numbers that Democrats and Republicans are two wings of the same party, as the late Gore Vidal described, the party of wealth, property, and corporate money, then Jill Stein would be a shoo-in for president, and I would have been your two-term representative in Congress. If, as Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand, and oppressors impose the greatest point for substantive change. Democrats and Republicans are in an inexorable race to the bottom, and they're dragging our country and the planet with them. People who vote according to two-party polarizations, disparaging labels, and political dogma are simply not thinking. America is immersed in an age of greed and stupidity, which Democrats and Republicans have joyfully exploited, even socially engineered for re-election and retention of power. Corporations and Wall Street think government is there to keep the game going and stock prices up, and Democrats and Republicans continue to oblige them. Democrats and Republicans still pretend our military power is exercised by a virtuous nation. Unfortunately, the uniqueness of that virtue has long ago been questioned and rejected by friends and foes alike. There is a two-party moral cynicism in America that a militarily strong nation need acknowledge no laws or moral responsibility other than its own acquisitive strengths, advanced weaponry, and resource needs. We've become like Paul Muni's character in Fugitive from a Chain Gang, if you've ever seen that movie. At the end, when asked how he survives, he recedes into the shadows, hissing, "I steal." That's what our country has become. Run by two-party plutocrats, government can no longer control the corporate oligarchy America now is. There is no law beyond the self, the universalism of greed. Only the Green Party, the occupiers, and a few other opposition voices, among them Ralph Nader, Noam Chomsky, and Dennis Kucinich, roar their objections like lions in the desert, marginalized by the media. Thanks to Democrats and Republicans, liberals and progressives are nearly extinct in America. We of the Green Party may be the last of these polar bears clinging to the thin ice. Our challenge is that too many liberals and progressives decry the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and call for universal health care and support labor rights, but continue to defend and support a Democratic Party that has no intention whatsoever of disrupting the corporate machine. That lack of resolve, that sellout mentality is why conservatives have successfully nurtured resentment for liberalism among the middle class, once the very seat of liberalism. The bourgeoisie, which emerged in the 19th century to challenge the priests and monarchies and political power of mercantilism. Those revolts, including Hungary, which made my ancestor Arista Deshefy a martyr, had one central middle-class ideology: democracy. Now a forgotten aspiration in America. The Democratic Party seeks its own comfort and privilege and refuses to challenge, let alone impede, the corporate state's ascendancy, politically engineered inequalities, and wealth in the hands of a few. Are the media complicit in this unwritten quid pro quo? Oh boy, you bet they are. Are they misdirection for the two-party deception at hand? Yes, of course. The media need those campaign donations turned political ads within that status quo. Their straw polls get spun into gold. Our challenges as Greens are to find our own access to voters and to expose the moral and political cowardice of liberals and progressives who still vote for Democrats. And that's a big challenge. Democrats have deformed the basic tenets of liberalism to support a national security state of continuous war, globalization, and an unfettered predatory capitalism destroying America's poor and middle class. Democrats, every bit as much as Republicans, are mascots for Wall Street, courtiers and liaisons, even courtesans, to the military-industrial complex and corporate state. There's no hope for progressive change within the two-party monolith of power. To believe Democrats can be an instrument of genuine reform is whimsical. America and progressive ideas require a new radicalism, and it resides in the Green Party and the Occupy movement alone right now. That is the challenge confronting Dr. Jill Stein, Colin, and other Green candidates, the same challenge I confronted in congressional elections in 2008 and 2010, as did Steve, Mike, Ken, Richard, Charlie, et al. Voters must be convinced to give up the stupefying but comfortable illusion that Democrats represent liberal institutions or can be instruments and agents for genuine progressive reform. Once disavowed of that illusion, voters will turn to the Green Party as their one undisputed source of political reality and change. Thanks very much. Want to keep going, Rana? You don't. Next.